universe seems to operate in the way that we would expect things to if it was the consequence of a program.
But I think that's the sort of point I was trying to make before. It's like, well, what way do we expect it to act? We have no other...
Our
assumptions
brains
obviously they're juxtaposing that against a more analog, messy system where they aren't parallel.
Why would it be messy?
Yeah, well...
True, that's just as strange.
Yeah. I didn't read very deeply, and I'm definitely... This is...
So what are you saying? So
like, the only reason
we're talking about... We've got the word, code or program to explain this stuff because we use it for the way computers work. So, like... If we're relating how we think the computer should process stuff to the way that the world, so it's only going to turn out that way.
But
eventually.
Of course we are, because we can. That's how we explain our current world, like with computers and that. Of course, we're going to go and try and explain away the universe and how it looks in that same way. If it looks, it's like, oh, well, it's a computer. Oh, okay, how do you expect it to look like? Of course, you're going to.
But what about
compare it to that?
God and Jesus Christ and Allah and all that? Where do they come into it? Are they playing us? Are they the ones with the fucking? Are they the ones with the remote controls? Or like that? No.
Maybe it's like when you play Commander Keen and you have the God, when you make it in God mode, and you can fly and shit.
You cheat. Basically. Religion's a cheat. Shit.
See, I think in a computation, in a simulation scenario, it would imply that someone set up the simulation or a team.
Yep.
Someone exists. What that actually creates is a much
another problem. Who the fuck are these people? Doesn't solve any question about reality.
The Anunnaki comes.
But what it does answer one important thing, which is every attempt that we make to extrapolate from our position backwards to the beginning of time to figure out where we came from, all the stuff that we look at isn't actually going to help us solve that problem. Because we're looking at the wrong data. We're looking at a simulation rather than the reality.
So does the Big Bang fit into this? It doesn't.
Yeah, the Big Bang would be the beginning of the simulation.
Point zero.
That would be the point where they start program and the program starts extrapolating. It would be a chaos theory sort of thing. Yeah. Simple rules. Creating complex interactions.
So I guess the conclusion is that at the end of the day...
So if we were to make that, would we press start in the simulation if we were to make one in a computer and it would...
If we made it the same way.
If we made it the same way.
Unless you could somehow press play and people have memories already. The computer program has memories already. Actually that brings back to a really good point I remember thinking about. A chat with the other guy. That, the creation theory that everything... was the Earth is 6,000 years old, and all Adam and Eve, and all of a sudden everything was just there. It's like, well, that we don't know that didn't happen because no one there was there to experience that. The fact that it could have happened, but the thing is though that everything you're able to explain away from now all the way through the Big Bang with science and maths and all that. You're able to do it because the language fits. Just because it fits though, and we're able to explain it doesn't mean it actually took place.
It's nothing to do with the language, it's everything to do with the evidence.
But evidence is like, okay, we can understand that looking at the logical sequence of events and how of cause and effect of certain processes in the universe, and we can put it all the way back into one very simple Big Bang situation, which after that, everything happened cause and effect after that. Well, we can go back all the way there, but doesn't mean it actually happened because no one was there to experience it. So it brings about the whole...
Lots of things...
I like that.
Never, ever.
I'm going to think about
the idea that no one was there to experience that.
Does that make it not real?
Yeah, it doesn't affect it at all. It's not a counter argument. It's not a counter argument at all.
Well, I think that does
because experience is more fallible than evidence. You can go out the back and experience a ghost. You can go out the back and experience all sorts of hallucinations. Your experience is flawed. What's not flawed is the video camera that's filming you walk around in circles going, and then come back in. That video data is far more reliable than
reliable for what? What the video camera can see. But the only thing the video camera can see
is the fact. Is your reality to you the fact? And then you just go, well, this is my reality because this happens again.
Like, our brains are flawed.
Because it's always subjective.
Yeah, and not just always subjective, but it is a subjective thing, so it's always limited to that problem. But then even in that subjectivity, there are flaws in it and holes, and we have blind spots in our vision, literal blind spots we can't see, but our brain fills in the gaps. We make colours change colour because of their relationship to other colours. Like all of these.
Sure, when you're on acid, people look familiar because your brain is actually like linking the dots in your vision, so everyone looks like someone you know. That's actually, I think, how it works.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
That's why everything waves and shit.
Yeah, right. That's interesting.
Even without drugs.
But anyway.
Everything. Our brains are just very, very flawed.
Okay.
So the idea that no one was there to experience it somehow undermines the evidence we have is just, it's so very
But
wrong.
I'm not saying it, but what I think that presents the issue of what do we define as being real, like our reality, and that's the difference. It's like, so you're saying
I don't think it's
the more real it is the more objective opinion you can get on it. So let's say we have the more for one way you can do that is you get heaps of people's opinions on something, and because it's so many people's opinions, it almost becomes objective, almost. And then, but what you're saying is though, when you get a computer to look, or a video camera to look at it, that makes it completely objective. And I disagree. All you're doing is getting another perspective of the universe.
But the video camera is not a perspective.
It is a perspective. It is definitely a perspective.
Well, in a mathematical sense, it's a view. There's like an angle in perspective.
Not the angle.
But it's not. A video camera is not subjective.
It is definitely. It's only coming from its point of view.
But the video camera is not subjective. The people viewing the image produced by the video camera is subjective.
What it is data coming from the universe from one point. Whether that be a point in your brain or a point made out of wood on that table or a point made out of electronic function.
Points don't come from your brain. The video camera is receiving light from a series of events. So, again, if we accept the axiomatic statement that the universe is a real thing, axiomatic. Basics.
Basics. I like it. I'm going to use it. Can I use it?
It's like the fundamental assumptions.
Yes.
If we agree the universe is a real place, then that means that.
But I don't know if I do.
Then that's fine. Then we can't really. There's no discussion.
There's no discussion.
Let everyone go to bed.
I don't know what I think about that yet, though.
No.
It's a hard question.
Well, look, I have to believe that what I see of the night is real. Like, there's stars up there and there's universes, and then that's good enough for me. All right.
Well, ultimately, the thing which gives away all of our willingness to believe that the universe is real is the fact that we're still alive. You believe that cars will probably cause you harm if they move into you at high velocity.
Because your goal is to not get hurt and you're trying to make your world around you work for you. Sure, but that does not, that's something to do with being a common objective reality. That is there regardless of your experience.
But that really reveals your inner... Your actions reveal your beliefs, even if you
don't have a choice. We don't have a choice in the matter. No, we don't. How else are we going to go and live in our world unless to fucking make do with what we've got? I happen to be here, and you know what? I'm going to just play the game because I'm here. I don't have a choice. What else am I going to do about it?
You do have a choice.
Like what? I'm just going to assume that my eyes don't work. And I can't. Whatever that is, that's not something, is it?
Hold on. Exactly. You can choose to believe that this lounge isn't real and you're falling through it.
But it's not beneficial at all.
That's right.
So
because it's wrong. And you know that it's wrong, which is why you choose to go along with it, because you've got no choice, because everything else is wrong.
But let me change it.
Right. Let me change the direction. How does the simulation theory fit in with what happens when you die?
You die.
That's it? Existence ended, game
Lights
over?
out, mate.
For your subjective experience of the objective reality of the program.
So whether you believe it or not, there is there's a lot of people out there who believe in not only life after death, but the reality of life after death in this world through ghosts and spirits and contact with the dead, all that sort of stuff. Massive amount, probably a lot. So if the simulation theory is true, then how does it explain what a glitch in the program? It's a fucking Matrix style.
Here's the thing though. Okay, what I just answered is one thing. The reality is if this is a simulation, then the creators could have created an entire plethora of simulations, of which we are just a small part of. And so maybe, for all I know, because when you talk about when you've created a simulation, you've got complete control. Complete.
Yeah.
So there's nothing stopping you from going, okay, then this creation, when it spawns subjective beings, when their subjective conscious stops, grab that bit of data which has created them and move it over to this version of the simulation and hit play. And that version of simulation is another world
where magic is real.
Yeah, all sorts of things. Like anything can be possible. Anything. It can
That's
be.
Like the end of the world.
So if you believe in a simulation theory, you have to believe in a creator. How can a simulation? Yeah. So there is a creator.
Oh my God,
if this universe as we know it is a simulation, then it has to have a creator.
Is there a religion out there?
That doesn't necessarily give away an ultimate creator. Though.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a religion? Are there cults out there where people go to fucking Sunday Mass for this sort of stuff?
What, put a computer in the middle and burn it?
No, not burn it, like, worship it.
I absolutely clarifying this. It's like, I'm not like a simulationist believer. It's just like, as I said, it's a feasible idea.
Yeah.
Its impact on my life is completely nil. I still believe.
I don't know. You spend a lot of time with computers, man. You're looking for the answers.
You're playing World of Warcraft. That is
waiting for the white rabbit.
Playing World of Warcraft.
Waiting for the white rabbit to turn up at the door, and then fucking off you go. So, have you heard of the stoned ape theory?
No.
So what the stoned ape theory is that so what the Neanderthals, like the very early humans, were around for a good 1.5 million years, starting the trend, and then within 10,000 years they started we had one particular stone tool for a good million years, and then within 10,000 years they found another stone tool. They found artwork which had never been found before. They found signs of communication, language between. So they're like, well, in this particular period, 10 or 15,000 years, what happened to flip? Some people say it was consciousness. There was just enough. So and some people say artificial intelligence, aliens came down. And some people say whatever religious stuff. But then they're saying, they also started burying people with stuff and that sort of thing, so they had a sense of life after death, and then so a lot of people say that they just particularly they migrated from the cold climate to a more warmer tropical climate, which is where mushrooms thrive, and then they started eating the psychedelic mushrooms off the ground, and then they started contemplating life, basically like a primitive from nothing, just running around like animals, to then going communication, life after death, so on and so forth.
And I think that transition represents exactly what Adam and Eve's story tries to say as well. It's like that point when people started to think about their cause and effect and death, and they started to have fear of death. That is what made us conscious almost, because we start not acting on just what natural beings do with just no thought, really. You're just doing what your biology tells you. Now we start worrying about death, and then we start acting in good and bad ways. Like good and evil become relevant when that transition takes place. And I think that's what Adam and
But also, have you had a bad mushroom trip?
Bite the apple and that's it. Good and evil now fucking on your shoulders forever.
Have you had a bad mushroom trip? Because if you've had a bad mushroom trip, that would give you a sense of good and evil too. Because I've fucking tripped out a mate when he's been on mushrooms, holding a light over his head and going, "What are you doing? What's going on?" Fucking then he's like, "Mate, you got horns. You started breathing fire and that sort of thing." So you get a sense of these demonic good and bad. Whether that's already in your head and you're just connecting the dots or whatever. But anyway, I like that theory. Have you tried mushrooms? Have you done mushrooms?
No.
No, okay. Well, so it's probably a bit hard to comprehend if you haven't actually tried the substance, because you have that sense of overwhelming. Everything is you're in touch. You're connected with everything. You know what I mean? Like that sense of worldliness, a sense of
Yeah, I think it's interesting though that it's saying this evolution of primitive humans into intelligent, communicative humans. Sort of when we tell these stories, it sounds like they just started doing it, or things started changing rapidly. But you still refer to it in the frame of 10,000 or 5,000 years.
A
lot of time.
I know, definitely.
So
but
going, particularly when you think the average reproductive cycle is 12 to 20 years.
Yeah, it would have been, yeah.
So you got 5 or 6 generations every 100 years.
Yeah.
50 or 60 generations.
Yeah. No, you're fucking right.